I can tell people all day that I have 7-foot tomato plants, but if I show them a photograph of me standing next to a 7-foot tomato plant, the impact is profoundly different. Today I want to talk about soil, not dirt, soil. The difference between dirt and soil is soil has lots and lots of nutrients, and I add nutrients to the soil by virtue of composting. That avoids all the chemical nutrients, fertilizers, that sort of thing. I wouldn't even call them nutrients, just chemical fertilizers that most people use in their gardens. I choose to have as an organic garden as possible. But the foundation of it all is right here. This is compost that I created in my greenhouse last winter. It's rich, it's very diverse in its origins. It's all kind of horse manure based, but I add all kind of food waste, and so it is alive, lots of microbial life in this soil. So that is what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about composting and how to plant seeds, what my greenhouse does, hydroponics, all those things that I do in my greenhouse every winter to grow food for me to eat and try to keep me healthy. So come on into my greenhouse. A couple of years ago, I added a 700 square foot greenhouse onto my house. So I live in 2 rooms. I have the big room there that I live in, and now my greenhouse. So my greenhouse has become kind of a social area. I've got a patio, indoor patio area here. I compost in this room. I grow lots and lots of edible greens in this room. So this winter, I'm going to have about 60 5-gallon planters all along this south wall for winter greens: spinach, Swiss chard, kale, sweet potato greens, all kind of greens that are good for us, very nutritious. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about what's most important to me is learning how to compost. So one thing I talk about a lot is how to make really, really rich soil. And the point of composting is to make your compost or your soil nutrients as biologically and as diverse as possible. So you want as many widespread nutrients, organisms in your soil as humanly possible. So for the immediate usage, this food blender is a part of both my worm composting and my soil composting for my garden and composting for all these flower pots in this room. So I read this out of an old organic magazine, and this lady said she had a really small garden, so to speed up the process, she put all of her food waste into a food blender, add water, mix that up, and make it into a food slurry, and pour that directly into your worm composting bin or directly into your composting pile or your compost tumbler and that sort of thing. Another thing that I do all winter long is I have this big tray here in my greenhouse. And a lot of times I just dump my wet, nasty food waste into this tray. It sits along the south wall of my greenhouse, and this stuff dehydrates. It pulls all the moisture out. So all this veggie waste is about 90% water. So I want the water out of there, and that way all I have is this crude matter. So with this crude matter, I take eggshells, seed pods, old potatoes, avocado skins, that sort of thing, and I put them through a chipper shredder. This is a small scale chipper shredder, and I push all this totally dried waste through here, and it comes out into a pulverized form, and then that goes into my compost tumbler.